And now to a debate on Snowden, the government's response to his actions, and the programs he revealed. Daniel Ellsberg was tried under the Espionage Act after leaking the so-called Pentagon Papers, a classified report which he co-wrote as a military analyst that was critical of U.S. decision-making during the Vietnam War. The case against him was ultimately dismissed in 1973. And Michael Mukasey was Attorney General during the George W. Bush administration. Let's get on the table first what you both think about the programs that were revealed by Edward Snowden. Michael Mukasey, you've written that real damage was done by Snowden. Please explain.
I think real damage was done in two respects. One is by disclosing the details of the programs, and second is by showing both our adversaries and our would-be potential friends, both allies and people who might provide human intelligence, that we can't keep secrets. I think those two things damage us tremendously.
And Daniel Ellsberg, what is your biggest concern about the NSA program?
Pardon me, but listening to that just now, I have to smile at the thought that our friends will be very upset at the thought that Snowden has exposed that we were spying on them, which he has done. I must say, I think a lot of them would be envious of our capability. I think Russia and China would be envious of our capability. The NSA capability is exactly what they want in countries that aren't exactly democratic. My concern is that the very existence of this capability chills free speech in a disastrous way. I cannot see how there can be investigative reporting of the national security community when the identity, the location, the metadata, and really the contents of every communication between a journalist and every source, every journalist, every source, is known to the executive branch, especially one that has been prosecuting twice as many sources as any president before. Moreover, my even larger concern is I don't see how democracy can survive when the one branch, the executive branch, has all the personal communications of every member of Congress and every judge, every member of the judiciary, as well as the press, the fourth estate that I've just been describing. I don't see how the blackmail capability that's involved there will not be abused as it has happened in the past, including to me, by the way, and to journalists.
All right, Mr. Mukasey.
Without that freedom to investigate or bring checks and balances, we won't have a real democracy.
All right,
that's my concern.
Let's let Mr. Mukasey respond.
That is a hysterically inaccurate portrayal of what information is available to the government. What is available are two kinds of information. One is so-called metadata, which is simply a pile of numbers called and times. They're not even associated with particular people. And the only purpose of having that is to have a database against which to check suspicious numbers from abroad that are documented to belong to suspected terrorists under the supervision of a court, and to query that database. That database consists of millions and millions of numbers, that's all, and in 2012 it was queried 300 times by the 15 people who are authorized to query it. That is a microscopic amount of use, although an important amount of use. So far as surveillance conducted abroad, our friends spy on us and we spy on them. That is an open secret and has been for years. And I seriously doubt that any of them would be either surprised or actually disturbed to hear it. And to say that the Russians and the Chinese would like to have access to these techniques is to prove my point. The Russians and the Chinese now do have access to them, thanks to their having had access to Mr. Snowden's computer, whether he likes it or not. Yeah. Because he was in China. The Chinese were perfectly capable of taking what was in his computer, and I'm sure the Russians already have it as well.
So, Daniel Ellsberg, what word would you use to describe Edward Snowden? Is he a whistleblower? Is he a criminal? What?
First of all, he's certainly a whistleblower by any reasonable standards. If I'm a whistleblower, he's a whistleblower. I'm glad to hear, by the way, that there's some dispute about that, because in my day, whistleblower was not an honorific term. It was more usually equated with traitor. So there's been progress in that way. Now it's something to argue about whether this person is really a whistleblower. And I would say there's no question that he is, and I'm confident that he is not a traitor any more than I am, and I'm not, or Mr. Mukasey. By the way, when Mr. Mukasey says that the Russians now have access to what he has, I believe actually what Mr. Snowden, Edward Snowden, has told, as of today, former Republican Senator Gordon Humphrey. He assured them that the people are wrong, that he used to teach computer security to DIA, and that he was confident that even our own NSA was not capable of getting the secrets. I think it's simply mistaken to say that he's either intentionally or inadvertently given that away. But in terms of the question of why we're spying on our friends, I don't think we're spying on the Chinese in order to find Muslim terrorists, may I suggest. I think that what has been revealed about the degree of listening in we're doing to the rest of the world is that that's hardly a major purpose in spying on France or Germany or elsewhere any more than it is here. The benefit to the government, to the executive branch, it's not a benefit to us as a public of finding out, in the case of the Chinese trade negotiations, but any kind of negotiations they want, any kind of dissent. I want to say very specifically what doesn't seem to have come out. Russell Tice, a 20-year veteran not only of DIA and CIA, but of the NSA, has stated, as have every other NSA whistleblower, William Binney, Thomas Drake, Kirk Wiebe, have all stated that this is the tip of the iceberg, and that in fact NSA has not only the capability, but is now collecting and storing all the content of all these communications.
All right,
to say it's just metadata is, I think, absolutely mistaken.
All right, let me let Michael Mukasey respond to that, but also I'd like to know how you characterize Edward Snowden and the U.S. efforts to get him back.
Well, I guess I join with Mr. Ellsberg in saying he's not a traitor, but only because he hasn't committed treason as defined in the Constitution. He is, however, a criminal. By his own admission, he has violated at least one, probably two, and perhaps three sections of the Espionage Act, and he ought to be sent back. So far as people who are
Attorney General of the
claim
United
to
States,
be...
Hold on, Mr. Ellsberg.
I'm really disturbed by hearing a former Attorney General describe Mr. Snowden as a criminal. He is an accused.
Come on.
He is an accused person.
He is an admitted criminal. He admitted that he stole.
All right, just a second, Mr. Ellsberg.
You're absolutely wrong.
Go ahead,
You're
Mr. Mukasey.
wrong. Am I a criminal? Was I a traitor? You're agreeing.
Mr. Ellsberg, hold on a minute, please. Let me let Mr. Mukasey respond.
Nobody says you were a traitor,
Mr.
Ellsberg. Nobody says you were a traitor. Nobody said it then.
Was I a criminal?
Nobody responsible
Was
said
I
it
a
then.
criminal?
Nobody says it now. You stole.
I admitted everything
Mr.
that I
Ellsberg,
did.
please, Mr. Ellsberg, please, have to insist that you let him respond.
The fact that you admitted it doesn't make it not a crime. And you did it in a very responsible way. I will say that. The stuff that you stole was of negligible importance because the most recent stuff that you stole was no more recent than 3 years old. And you preceded your disclosures by offering it to two senators, both of whom turned you down because they didn't want to be the people to disclose it. George McGovern and William Fulbright both refused to take that stuff and disclose it. You disclosed it instead to the New York Times.
All right, Mr. Ellsberg, just in our last minute, please come back to the Snowden case. What would you like to see happen? What would you like to see happen now?
I'll tell you exactly. I would like to see Russell Tice, William Binney, Thomas Drake, and Kirk Wiebe testify before Congress under oath as to their knowledge that these programs are unconstitutional and criminal, which is why two of them resigned from the NSA. They have asked to testify, and they have been ignored by Congress. That's exactly the debate that Edward Snowden wanted to have, and it should take place in a new investigation in Congress, not in the intelligence committees, which have been totally co-opted, and obviously not involving the FISA court, which is essentially a joke for how many hundreds of pages it's put out, and it's thousands and thousands of acceptance. It's clearly a rubber stamp court. We need to change that.
And very briefly, Mr. Mukasey, what would you like to see happen?
I'd like to see happen what happens in any other criminal case, that is to have Mr. Snowden sent back here and have him stand trial. And so far as congressional hearings, all this material was gathered pursuant to statutes passed by Congress under the supervision of an Article III court and at the direction of the executive. So all three branches of the government were involved in it.
Michael Mukasey and Daniel Ellsberg, thank you both very much.
Thank you.
If you wonder what's happened to others charged with espionage over the years, our website profiles 11 other notorious leakers.